Hello everyone and welcome to the Evangelist Nick Garrett channel. Today, part 3 of the Protestant Reformation in England. Under Edward VI, the son of Henry VIII, England officially left the Catholic Church and formed its own state church referred to as the Anglican Church. Threads began to tear between the Catholic Church and other European states in similar fashion across the Western world. Under Edward, England, at least for the time, became wholly Protestant. The king himself was heavily involved in the transition. He maintained great respect for the Catholic Church, continuing to uphold its right to practices and privileges. However, for the Church of England, celibacy for clergy ended, and Mass in English finally became compulsory. The Catholic Church hierarchy in England responded by going behind the scenes to influence people and politics in secret, propping up pro-Catholic successors to the throne in the event such opportunities arose. Edward's successor on the throne, his cousin, Lady Jane Grey, chosen for the fact that she would maintain the Anglican development of the country, was murdered after only 9 days on the throne. The rise of the pro-Catholic oligarch named Queen Mary, otherwise known as Bloody Mary, began her reign, insistent on restoration unto Rome. Her goal was a series of ruthless attempts to bring England back under Catholic control by any means necessary. In the notes of the 2006 restoration of the 1599 Geneva Bible, project writer Gary DeMar said, quote, "Determined to force the English people back to Roman Catholicism, she ordered the burning of all copies of the Bible in English." End quote. Like many leaders in England's Protestant Christian movement, printer and scholar John Rogers, who had been sanctioned by a previous monarch to print more Bibles, was arrested. His wife, pregnant with their 11th child, must have had some complicated thoughts about her husband's plight. Now she would be alone to raise 11 children because her husband printed a Bible. And her monarch decided that her people, her England, would follow the Catholic Church. As tears no doubt ran down, Rogers was given only one chance to recant. Yet, with the bravery of the martyrs of old, he spoke up and said, quote, "That which I have preached, I seal with my own blood." End quote. Rogers was not unique. Mary burned any and all people found to have translated or simply read the scriptures in violation of canon law. This created many complications considering the nation had largely changed in the time prior to Mary's ascension to the throne, and that included easing of restrictions. Her goals were almost impossible to accomplish and made her appear out of touch. It is no mistake that history has remembered her as perhaps psychotic. Mary's ties and thus her loyalties went beyond England's spiritual needs and resided firmly with Catholic Spain. Her husband, after all, was Philip II of Spain, one of only 2 countries to remain decidedly Catholic in the immediate aftermath of the Reformation. The Queen pushed her despotic power and any political capital she had to the limit when she forced Parliament to recognize Rome's authority, reversing years and years of progress for England. Her plans were not easily met. Resistance came from all quarters, where Protestant reformers were already well established. In the era historically styled as the Marian exile, she drove hundreds of English scholars away. God used this exodus to advance the Reformation. In fact, it was in this Marian exile that saw a certain group of men converge in the safe city of Geneva, where one of the most important events of the Reformation would soon take place. Meanwhile, Mary's bloody rule continued. It was at least fairly bloody. Perhaps not near what one living today may envision. Some 20th century despots have killed 20 millions of their own people. Only 288 people were officially martyred in Mary's attempt to reverse Protestant gains in England that, according to the 19th century writer of Roman Catholic history, John Dowling, People like Miles Coverdale and John Knox, meanwhile, were among those that fled to Switzerland for protection. Switzerland had become another hotbed of Reformation spirit. It was there that many reformers found fellowship and gathered to exchange ideas and information. While exiled, Knox and Coverdale met up with John Calvin and William Whittingham. The men decided to retranslate another English version of the Bible, but this time free of any limitations that the clerical and national authorities had placed on previous similar works. From Geneva, they were free to include every subtle nuance, bold speech, liberty, and freedom to pervade the work of the translators of the past. What the exiles produced was one of the most popular books ever written up to that point, the Geneva Bible. Stephen Langton, the Archbishop of Canterbury, had worked on New Testament divisions back in the 13th century, just as the Jewish rabbi Mordecai Nathan had done for the Old Testament. A man named Robert Stephanus, however, had employed organized verse divisions in his work back in 1551. The Geneva Bible factored in the work of all these men in their establishment of verses and chapters. In short, it was the best work of the time, put together by the best free-thinking theologians of the time. In 1558, Queen Mary died, and her sister Elizabeth I ascended to the throne in England. We'll learn more about this in the final installment of the Protestant Reformation in England next time. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, watch the other videos on my channel, organized by subject matter into playlists. You can buy my books on Amazon, and I look forward to talking to you next time.